Good afternoon, and welcome to this meeting of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich Council meeting. It is September 10th, 2025. It is 5 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order. Clerk Tara, if you would get us started, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich opens at 5 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And Councillor Dreifelt, you have our land acknowledgement.
We will begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the First Nations people who have a long-standing relationship to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. We also acknowledge the local Lower Thames River watershed communities, which include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation of Moravian Town. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island, North America. We are thankful for the opportunity to live and learn and share with the mutual respect and appreciation.
Thank you. Item 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. I would remind council. I see none. Adoption of draft minutes. Are there any business arising from the minutes, errors or omissions? The minutes will be adopted as presented to council in your agenda package. Tara, are there any items not listed on the agenda?
There are none.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move right into the planning department. We have a planning issue to deal with.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drouillard, that the regular meeting end to sit as a committee of adjustment hearing to hear application file MV0325 filed by Ashley and Jesse Bice at 5:02 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Dreifelt, seconded by Drouillard, that the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for Minor Variance Application File MV03/25 filed by Ashley and Jesse Bice opens at 5:02 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried.
Terrific. Script, Tara.
It should have been right.
Thank you. Okay, we have the previous meeting minutes from June 11th, 2025. Any comments from council on that? They will be adopted as presented to council. Okay, I will call this Committee of Adjustment hearing to order. This application for a minor variance pursuant to Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended, is required for the following reasons. To request relief from Section 7.2.3 to permit a reduced minimum distance separation MDS1 setback of 126.8 meters from the required 224 meters. To allow for the construction of a new residential dwelling in proximity to a livestock facility. The subject lands are located at 27081 Celtic Line. Does any member of council have a disclosure of interest concerning these proposals? See none. Tara, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting?
A sign was posted on the subject property prior to the August 30th, 2025 deadline, and notices were mailed to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property prior to August 30th, 2025 deadline.
Okay, and we do have our planner with us, Mike.
Yes. Hi. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Okay, Mike, you can present your report at this time.
Sure. Thank you. So yes, I'll make a brief presentation summarizing the report. I trust you've had an opportunity to review. I also understand that the applicant is in attendance along with their planning consultant, so they will also be speaking to the application. As noted, the site is located at 2781 Celtic Line, approximately 450 meters east of Dunborough Road. The property measures approximately 50 hectares in area with roughly 740 meters of frontage along Celtic Line. The property is occupied by a number of agricultural buildings, including an accessory structure in an area of disturbed land at the north end of the property where a former residential dwelling stood in the 80s. As well, there's a large livestock barn and additional accessory structures in the southwest corner of the property. The remaining lands are either used for cultivated farming or are naturally vegetated. The site is surrounded by similar agricultural properties. As you mentioned, the present application seeks relief from section 7.2.3 of the zoning bylaw to permit a reduced minimum distance separation, or MDS, setback of 126.8 meters, where this setback should be 224 meters. This request is in support of the intention to develop a new two-story dwelling in the approximate location of the former residence on the property. The MDS is triggered by an existing broiler barn, which is located across the street at 2742 Celtic Line, which is owned by the same individuals as the subject property. The lands are designated agricultural area in the Elgin County Official Plan, agriculture in the Dutton Dunwich Official Plan, and are zoned large lot agricultural, or A3, in the zoning bylaw. When evaluating the merits of a minor variance, the Planning Act establishes 4 tests with which to assess the request. The first test asks whether the variance maintains the intent of the official plan, which, as I mentioned, the lands are designated agricultural area in the Elgin Official Plan and agriculture in the Dutton Dunwich Plan. The county OP permits the development of single detached dwellings within the agricultural area. However, the policies also require any new development to be developed in accordance with the NBS requirements. Similarly, the Dutton Dunwich Official Plan permits farm residences. However, the plan states, as part of the intent of the designation, to ensure that agricultural uses are free in their ability to function and expand without the constraints imposed by potentially conflicting land uses. In addition, the designation requires that new development comply with the provincial MDS requirements. In staff's opinion, certainly the use is permitted. However, the requested variance would not permit the development to comply with MDS requirements, as clearly stated under the plan's policies. And as I'll discuss shortly, would not allow the neighboring agricultural uses to expand free from constraints as intended by the plan. It's staff's opinion that the variance does not maintain the intent of the official plan. The second test asks if the variance maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. Section 7.2 of the bylaw addresses regulations for development in the A3 zone and does permit residential dwellings as a permitted use. However, section 7.2.3 specifically requires that development be compliant with the provincial MDS separation requirements. This is done to ensure that any potential conflicts between agricultural and non-agricultural uses are avoided. It's been noted that as the subject property and the neighboring property, 2742 Celtic Line, are under common ownership, this conflict is avoided. However, as these are 2 separate properties, this condition is not guaranteed moving forward, as either one of these properties could be sold at any time, and the reduced MDS separation then would introduce a new potential conflict. As such, staff don't believe that the intent of the bylaw is being maintained. The third test evaluates whether the variance is an appropriate use of the land, where this test typically tries to understand if the nature and character of the property and surrounding land is negatively affected by the variance. As mentioned, the location selected for the new residence is approximately where a previous residence once stood, where this area has been previously disturbed and taken out of agricultural use. In addition, farm residences are a common feature of the agricultural landscape, and so we agree that that the variance satisfies this test. The fourth and final test asks whether the variance is in fact minor. The question here is not really concerned with necessarily the numerical value of the request, but the impacts the variance might result in, trying to avoid any negative undue impacts. Again, as noted, the barn, which triggers the MTS calculation requirement, is presently under common ownership with the subject lands. However, as this condition is not guaranteed moving forward, we need to consider impacts to any future owners. It is our opinion that the reduced MDS separation could then lead to conflicts with the future owner. Furthermore, if a new residence is developed on the subject lands, regardless of ownership, any expansion to the broiler barn would trigger a new MDS calculation and require another variance to permit another reduced MDS separation for that broiler barn. This process is viewed by staff as an undue burden on that operation and creates a situation where any expansion could be denied if that variance is not approved. In line in contradiction with the official plan policies I mentioned earlier. As such, it's staff's view that the variance would result in undue negative impacts and that this is not in fact minor. So therefore, it's our opinion that this test is not satisfied. So for these reasons, it's staff's view that the request does not satisfy the 4 test under the Act, and we do not recommend granting the requested relief. Thank you, and I can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you for your report, Mike. There will be questions if you'd hang around, please. Is the owner present? Or do you have anything you want to add at this time? Are you speaking for the owner?
Yeah, we're both gonna speak if that's okay.
Yep, come on up.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay, we'll go first.
yep.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. Hey, good evening, everyone. My name's Ashley Bice, and this is my husband, Jesse Bice. We are the owners of 27081 and 27042. My husband and I currently live in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home with 5 children. We are beyond excited for this build and continue to grow our family and our farm. We have a passion for agriculture, and so do our children. Over the past 10 years, Jesse and I have been considering different locations for our new home. Below, or what Jesse's going to touch on, are reasons why we came to the proposed location and why we cannot build 280 feet further from our chicken barn at 27042.
First reason where we're proposing to build where we are is that it takes 0 acres of workable farmland out of production. It's already a treed property. And having workable acres is definitely a priority to us as farmers. Where we're proposing to build the house was previously a house for a reason. It's the high point of the farm, and we're unable to build it farther into the field due to the topography of the land. The requirement to move 280 feet farther into the field is approximately 15 feet lower in elevation than where we're planning to build. This would require extensive excavation and is not a prudent place to place a home, if it were even possible at all. And again, it would be taking more farmland out of production. No matter how back you go or how far back you go from the chicken barn, it is evident with the surrounding area that it is full of livestock. You will smell chickens and pigs and see trucks and equipment daily. It is meant to be a farmhouse and a home to support the farm around it. It is evident to whoever buys the farm in the future that they will be buying it for agricultural purposes, not for residential. Even if someone was to purchase the farm and apply for a severance attempting to remove the home from the farm, it would not be a wise investment, nor would they be able to due to the laws preventing them. Number 3, we are a farming family, and it's important for us to raise our children on the farm, providing them with that lifestyle and opportunity. By building on a different site, we'd be taking that opportunity away from our children to be immersed in the farm. Historically, both of these properties had houses and agricultural barns. Previous to our chicken barn, there was an agricultural building there that housed beef cattle and other livestock, while the other house was there. And the two coexisted for a very long time. And we have plans to expand both our poultry and swine operations in the future. And we have thoroughly thought about how this location would impact those plans. We have concluded that this location allows for the most flexibility in supporting the farm into the future. Briefly, with the drop in elevation surrounding the chicken barn, it is not realistic to think that any expansion could happen there. So we plan to expand on different acreages in the future.
When we built the chicken barn, the builder said to us, like, you guys understand, you won't be able to build east of the chicken barn. And we said yes. So just with our family and the future, we've thoroughly considered expansion and how that the location would impact it. So in conclusion, we see the merit in minor variances, and as farmers, we appreciate the reasoning for the law to prevent future conflicts between neighbors and leaving room for development. In this situation, with owning both farms on either side of the road, it removes the risk for future conflicts. It is our hope with the allowance of this application moving forward to grow both our farm and our growing family at the center of the farm. Thank you very much. After Daniele, we're welcome to take questions. Yep, not yet.
Sorry.
You're speaking for the owners.
Yes, correct. I'm the agent. I also have a presentation. I think that's easier to see. So thank you for the opportunity. We are here just to present the MV application. My name is Daniele. I am a planner with Zelinka Priamo and the agent for this file. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the subject lands are highlighted in red. As you can see, it's mainly comprised of cultivated fields. There is a farm building cluster that they previously mentioned that had a dwelling placed in the westerly side of that yellowish area. The farm building cluster also has an existing agricultural accessory building. They also have the swine barn that you can see to the southwesterly side, the big building. And they currently have 3 existing driveways, being one that leads to the livestock facility, one that leads to the accessory building, and another driveway that we can barely see there, but usually to drive directly to the previous dwelling. Next slide, please. Here is just a zoom in of the farm building cluster. You can see the 2 existing driveways, the existing structure, and the proposed location for the dwelling, which was the previously clear area for the previous dwelling. Next slide, please. As previously mentioned, the owners not only own the lands that are subject to the minor variance, but are also the lands across the road. The residence that they mentioned they live now is the one that you can see across the road. It's 2-bed dwelling, and they have like 5 children, so they are excited to build a new home for them. And they have considered other locations, but I will discuss that later. The proposed building is there. You can see the black area. It's proposed to be connected to water, municipal water. A new septic system is proposed to be constructed also within the clear area. And a driveway, existing one, will be used to access the proposed dwelling. Next slide, please. As mentioned by the planner, farm dwelling is permitted on these lands, both on the county OP and municipal OP, also in the zoning bylaw. And the only variance we are asking is for a MDS setback of 126.8 meters. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's the one. So what you can see in that drawing is the existing buildings, and then you see that circle. That circle means the MDS setback required from the existing broiler barn located to the lands across the road to the land subject lands. How that is measured is basically from the closest point of that is structure, the live barn, to the property line. And that's what you can see there. And then what is happening in that situation is that the dwelling should be built in any area outside that circle to be compliant with the MDS setback. However, as you can see, anything outside that circle is workable lands and would affect the current agricultural operation for them. And the main purpose for the MDS setback is to minimize any land use conflict. In this situation, the request for this minor variance is triggered because the proposed location, that is the best one, considering all the current site conditions. And it's also important to mention that reduced MDS setbacks can be or may be permitted under unique circumstances. Next slide, please. So they have considered other locations as they previously mentioned. And here I just have a table just to illustrate and compare all the other locations. So anything outside that circle is in the first column and the proposed location is the second one. So considering the current uses, the proposed location is in a clear area, not actively farmed, will be just replacing a previous farm dwelling. And again, any other areas are workable lands. In terms of access, the proposed location has an existing driveway that can be used so nothing will be changed. However, any other areas would disrupt workable lands because a new driveway will need to be constructed, and then, of course, will affect the agricultural operation. In terms of water supply, they will connect to municipal water in any location, but where we are proposing it will be much easier to connect to the road. And on the other hand, outside that circle that you saw, a long pipe would need to be installed and again, disrupt workable lands. Finally, a new septic system will be required for any location, but where we are proposing to locate the dwelling, it's a clear area, not actively farmed. However, any other areas, again, workable lands and will be impacted. Next slide, please. In terms of being minor in nature, as the planner mentioned, we always consider not only numerically, but also how the proposed will impact negatively any agricultural or surrounding uses. In this situation, we have two potential negative impacts, which are complaints regarding odor, and another one, the potential expansion of the broiler barn. Of course, complaints, both lands are owned by the same owners, so no complaints would be raised. However, let's consider that they sell one of those lands and complaints are raised, which would not make sense, would not be reasonable because both lands have livestock facilities. And it's important to mention that the swine bar on the subject lands has an influence area that's much greater than the broiler barn. So how can I complain about odor of the across the road livestock barn if I also have one that also produces odor? So that would not be reasonable. In terms of the potential expansion of the broiler barn, we do not see issues on that expanding because, again, as I previously mentioned, we measure the setback from the closest point of the livestock barn to the proposed location of that building. So the closest point of the barn to the closest point of the dwelling. And let's assume that they decide to then expand it. It's potentially to be expanded to the east, which they mentioned would not happen. To the west, they have existing dwelling, maybe not happening, but let's say they just demolish that. So they would just expand to the west or maybe to the rear. It's not expected that they would expand to the front yard. So in this situation, the existing and the proposed MDS setback will be maintained. Even though the radius would be increased, that distance between the livestock barn to the dwelling would not change. It will be kept the same. So no additional reduction will be required. It will be maintained exactly the same as is. So we do not see compatibility concerns on this situation. We can say that it's a unique circumstance because both properties have livestock facilities. Next slide, please. And to conclude again, farm dwelling is a permitted use on the subject lands. Other areas in the lands were considered, but they have more constraints compared to the proposed location. And the proposed location is not actively farmed, makes good use of a clear area. And we do not see significant impact on agricultural operations on the subject lands or surrounding area. It's our professional opinion that the proposed variance is minor in nature and are desirable for the appropriate use of the subject lands. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you for that. Do the committee members have any questions on the planning report? Mike, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Any questions from committee members? Deputy Mayor Loveland.
Mike, I have a question concerning if we can put a condition on a minor variance. I've heard two different schools of thought on that. I guess my feeling is if we were going to consider this minor variance, maybe we need to have an agreement with the property owner that if he sells the farm on the north side of the South Decline, he'll have to include in his condition of sale a notice that that barn is located too close to the house across the road, just to protect the municipality.
Through you, Mr. Chair, typically I don't recommend or I don't believe that a condition can be placed on the minor variance approval. We are really just working with the request before us, whether the reduction whether the reduction meets the tests of the act. I don't necessarily believe that even if you did act a condition saying that, be aware to future owners that the house is located too close to the neighboring facility. Ultimately, it's a decision made by council with reason, presumably with planning rationale behind that. And so I think they would still be subject to some form of recourse if that was the concern.
Any other committee member questions for the planner on his report? Mike, if I can, the proposed new dwelling.
Yes.
There is no opportunity for a severance down the road on that house, is there?
They could apply for one. They would have to put forward a rationale for that if that home becomes surplus to a farm dwelling, to a farm operation. So there would, in theory, be an opportunity to apply for a severance, either for the house at 2742 or at 2781.
Okay, so if that is possible.
It is possible. I can't say that it would be supported or not, but it is possible to at least apply for it.
Okay.
How do I turn this thing on? I've gone through that process in the past of severing farm dwellings, and usually there is an amendment in there that you remove excess agricultural livestock buildings. So for that to happen, either the severance on 27042 or 27081, you would have to remove the pig barn or the chicken barn previous to the severance being granted. So that's something to take into consideration.
Okay.
So that would remove the issue. If you did sever it, you'd have to tear down that giant pig barn or the chicken barn, right?
Okay. Any other questions on the planning report? Committee members? Okay. Does the Secretary Treasurer have any comments from staff?
They're summarized in the planner's report.
Okay. Any written submissions on this application?
They are summarized in the planner's report.
Are there any persons present who were notified of this meeting and would like to comment on the application? Either online or in person? I don't see any. Okay, it's up to the committee. Is there any further discussion? No, can't do it. I thought of that. Resolution and how was it worded? Go ahead, comments.
Yeah, so Mike, maybe, so my understanding of this, with the question with the severance, if there was a severance, they'd have to comply with MDS one calculations. They don't actually have to comply with the barn across the road. They actually have to comply with the barn that's on the property you're severing. Is my understanding of that. So realistically, what the property owner said is an accurate statement, that because he couldn't comply with that MDS one calculation, the only way the severance would be approved is to tear that down. If it met MDS one, he could leave it on there, but if it doesn't, he wouldn't be able to. And I don't think with the distances that they have, he'd be able to comply with that. So I think that's an accurate statement. He would have to remove the barn if need be.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's accurate. However, I'd still contend that the introduction of the residential dwelling would still have to contend. So if the property at 2742 were to have an expansion of that broiler barn to any direction, they would need to recalculate the MDS separation, again, likely requiring a variance, which is the one of the undue impacts that we're relying on.
I agree with that, yes.
Okay. Everybody's thinking? Any further? Go ahead, Councillor Dreyfus.
Just make a comment. Obviously, the word unique circumstances has come up several times in this situation. So the only comment I will make is that moving the house back in this situation really doesn't impact it. It really doesn't have an impact on the overall circumstances of what we're dealing with here. So what, we move the house back further. In the Planning Act, yes, I can agree that we have compliance issues, but at the end of the day, it's still a farmhouse and it's still serving agriculture. And what we don't want to happen is more agricultural land taken out of our system. And I guess my view is, especially in the location of where this farm is in Dutton Dunwich, it's probably the best unique circumstances we could have to put a farm dwelling, a farmhouse on a farm that meets the needs of an agricultural family and agricultural industry. So I guess that would be my comment. I just don't see what an additional setback's going to do in the short term, possibly long term, but there's other conditions that will apply at that time. So.
Anything further? We do have a resolution. We have a couple options. If council wishes more information, I don't know whether we have it all or you feel confident in it. If I may at this time, I'd like to speak to the landowners. A question. Have you considered, you made mention you couldn't move the house back because of the lay of the land. Have you considered moving it to the east on your farm? Yeah, please.
So if you view that slide there, you can see the circle encompasses a fair distance to the east of the property. So it really limits our scope of where we could potentially build. And the road at the edge of that circle is the beginning of the hill that I know the township is very familiar with. So it would make for a very dangerous entry point to a driveway. So that's something that we have considered, but we don't think is a reasonable option.
Also, it's the east side is the fans for the chicken barn. So where we're building now, we're in line, very much so in line with the chicken barn. If you build to the east, it'll be more of a smell, more noise from the fans. We are trying to use different products and stuff to decrease the noise, but yeah, it wouldn't be a practical spot. Another
You would be building in the predominantly downwind direction of the chicken barn. So actually where we're sitting, even though it's within the MDS setback, we'll have less smell than building anywhere to the east of the barn. It's something we have considered. Yes.
it's nice and flat in that spot. It would be but just with the hill there and the chicken barn direction of the fans, the hazard that yeah.
Fair enough. And one other question, I guess, you made a comment when you built the chicken barn, you were told you couldn't build it to the east. Could you elaborate on that? If you were to expand, where would you put the new chicken barn?
We'd put it at 27788 Celtic line down the road about 2 kilometers. Yeah.
Okay, answers my question.
Yeah, and I guess another point, when you look at this map, if you were to put a house to the east and away from the furthest away possible you could from the livestock barns, down the road, out of our control, when we're looking at situations like that in the unforeseeable future, say someone does buy it, there's much more likely of a chance that it would be a non-agricultural person buying it away from the farm, the further you put the house away from the farm. Whereas if it is in the center of the farm, that person's buying that house for the farm. Like, you're not buying it for the house. You're buying it to continue farming that land and agriculture uses. Thank you.
Anything further, or we'll go to the question? We can put the resolution on the floor and not accept it. So it's whatever council wishes. Yeah. So do you want to hear the question? And then you could amend it.
Which do you want first?
The question.
Moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Committee of Adjustment for the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planning consultant titled Application for Minor Variance 27081 Celtic Line Dutton, dated September 10th, 2025 for information, and that the committee refused to grant relief from section 7.2.3 of the zoning bylaw 2022-50 to permit a reduction in the required MDS1 setback for the development of a residential dwelling in proximity to a livestock facility.
Call the question.
All those in favor? All those against? And it does not pass.
Where does that put us?
That's why I was trying to ask.
When can we bring it back?
You can't. So,
That leaves them hanging.
yes, we're going to make a friendly amendment.
Yep.
So I need someone to move that they would like to amend the motion. And second. And then I need someone to give me the wording that they would like it amended to.
Pemberton?
Yeah, so I guess it can be the same at the start and that the committee approves the to grant the relief from the section of the zoning bylaw.
Okay, and then we need to vote on that amendment. All in favor? And that's carried. So now we will vote on the original resolution. Yes. So moved by Drulard, seconded by Pemberton, that the Committee of Adjustment for the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the report of the planning consultant titled Application for Minor Variance 27081 Celtic Line Dutton, dated September 10th, 2025 for information, and that the committee approves to grant relief from section 7.2.3 of zoning bylaw 2022-50 to permit a reduction in the required MDS1 setback for the development of residential dwelling in proximity to a livestock facility. All those in favor? And that's carried.
We're good? Okay.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Loveland, that the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to hear minor variance application MV 03/25 filed by Ashley and Jesse Bice closes at 5:39 PM. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Drulard, seconded by Dreyfout, that the regular meeting reconvenes at 5:39 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Mike, if you're still around, thank you for taking the time and thank you for your report.
Yeah, still here. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Okay, take care. Certainly. A short break is requested, so how much time do you need, Council Pemberton? 2 minutes. We're back. Item 7 is the Drainage Department, and it was Section 78, request for drain improvement on the McCaffrey Drain. Pretty straightforward. Is there any comments or questions from council on that one? Pretty straightforward. I see none. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich receives the Drainage Act, section 78, 1.1 request from D&M Brubacher to improve the McCaffrey Drain and part lot 13 concession 7, and that council decides to proceed and instructs the clerk to send the notification as required in section 78.2 of the Drainage Act to the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, and that the clerk notifies the requester of council's intention to proceed and appoint an engineer at a subsequent council meeting once notice is received from the Conservation Authority that they do not require an environmental appraisal or the 30 days notice required in section 78.2 has passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
That property has recently changed hands, as has a number of properties in the municipality. Okay. We are on to correspondence. And the first one is Kingston. Heritage property insurance rates, which we've dealt with in this municipality. Anyone wish to speak to that? Councilor Dreyfus.
Just a comment. It seems to come up all the time, and I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, but there is insurance companies that won't insure, but most most insured properties are based on value and not heritage value. So it's one of these things that I think there's got to be more education, even to the insurance companies. I think there's a misconception of that everything has to be brought back to its historical state, and that's not necessarily the case. If the property's worth $500,000, they're gonna give you $500,000 to bring it back to that place that you can use it again. But yeah, I think this is important to address provincially. So.
Thank you. Do we have a resolution? Sarah, please.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from the City of Kingston calling on the provincial government to investigate why some insurers are raising premiums on heritage designated properties or are denying insurance policies as a result of a heritage designation in contravention of provincial guidance, and bring insurance regulators, insurance industry representatives, and heritage professionals together to find solutions that enable the continued protection of heritage properties without unwarranted financial burden on homeowners, and regulate the impact of heritage designation on insurance premiums through enforcement, education, and new solutions. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Andrew Lawton, MP, and the City of Kingston. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. Item D, Township of Woolwich, strong mayor legislation. We've heard this before. Is there any comments or? No. Clerk Tara, please.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drouillard, that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the resolution from the Township of Woolwich requesting that the province of Ontario continue to study the impact of the strong mayor's legislation, including to what extent the legislation is supporting the stated intent of supporting housing development. For example, if strong mayors are using their powers to support or veto more housing in their communities. If there are any unintended consequences of the legislation, for example, on democracy, transparency, workplace culture, or the politicization of administrative staff appointed by a strong mayor, the CAO, or department heads, the impact of extending the legislation to smaller rural municipalities, such as the impact of additional powers and duties on part-time mayors, or the implications where a simple majority and two-third majority vote is the same. Consider the concerns expressed by the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the AMCTO, including the powers affecting public administration and eliminating the need for a majority council support for certain decisions related to provincial priorities. And that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Andrew Lawton, MP, and the Township of Woolwich. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. You'll be tired after that one.
I got one.
Yeah, it is.
It's great.
Item C, and that was the late edition. Came in kind of late, but anyway, we have a resolution, and does anyone wish to speak to that? Let's hear the resolution, and then we can still address it.
Moved by Drouillard, seconded by Dreyfus, whereas the province has posted VRO 025-0923 consultation on the future community natural gas expansion, seeking feedback from municipalities, Indigenous communities, and other stakeholders on how Phase 3 could best support access to natural gas for community development. And whereas expanding access to natural gas is identified as a tool to support affordability and economic growth in Ontario communities, with Phase 1 and 2 estimated to enable connections for approximately 17,000 buildings across 59 communities and 16 projects completed to date. And whereas the municipality of Dutton Dunwich is working toward the housing and employment land goals that contribute to Ontario's broader objective to build at least 1.5 million homes by 2031, and recognizes that time servicing solution, including natural gas where appropriate, can help enable these targets. And whereas Ontario's energy future relies on a balance of affordability, reliability, and sustainability by leveraging a mix of energy solutions, including natural gas, electricity, and emerging energy technologies to meet growing community needs. And whereas natural gas continues to play a critical role in supporting energy affordability, economic competitiveness, and enabling housing and employment growth across the province. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Dutton Dunwich supports the ministry's consultation on the future of community natural gas expansion, Phase 3, and endorses access to natural gas as an option to other energy solutions to advance the municipality of Dutton Dunwich's housing and employment land and economic development objectives. And further that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Rob Flack, MPP, Andrew Lawton, MP, the Minister of Energy and Mines, the Ontario Energy Board, AMO, and Enbridge Gas Inc.
Before you call the vote, a couple of comments and maybe Tony as well. We have had a discussion on this thing and it came late. But I think the resolution is that we support that, but to what extent? And it comes down to, we don't have a lot of time. And whether we just do the resolution plus a letter of support or go to the submission. So Tony, if you want to comment on that.
Thank you, Your Worship. As you mentioned earlier, yes, this did come late, and administration, we have some staffing issues with regards to completing this, but we will do every effort that we can to complete this submission before the deadline.
All those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland. That relevant correspondence was reviewed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, on to the consent agenda. We have 7 items. They're in front of council. I'm not going to read them all out, but does anyone wish to speak to any one of the 7? If I could just bring up item 2, and it was a letter to council and staff. Christine Pensa and Blair Bowen, has staff responded to that letter? Okay, thank you. I have one other comment on item 6, and it's the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus monthly update. And in that, they talked about an ROD program with some funding available. Councillor Dreyfus, did you happen to read that, or is there anything that applies to our economic development?
I read it and I'm not sure what to do with it yet, but I think we should look at this and see what we can do with this. So I think there's some good information here. Yeah.
There is, and maybe even talk to Carolyn at the county on it.
Yes, I can do that.
She can offer some insight on what this first I heard about it.
Yeah.
Any further comments on any of the items?
Could I just make one comment?
Yes, go ahead.
Don't mind. So the letter that was issued to council from Pensa and Blair Bowen. So we responded to the letter, which I appreciate, but we get other letters as well to address to council. And often we don't hear if there's been a response. We don't need to know what the response is, but could we at least be notified that there was a response given to the said individuals? It doesn't matter what the issue would be, because the letter is addressed to council, and we're not responding to the letters. But if staff is, we should be aware that there was a response of some kind sent to those people. Is that something we could, because I've been left in the dark so many times, I don't even know what's been responded to, how you're supposed to respond. If you're running into that individual in the street, you want to be able to at least have a conversation with them without hiding. So.
Thank you, Council, for the question. Yes, if we, when we do respond to the question, we will advise council of any response back.
Item B, committee reports. Yeah, Deputy Mayor Loveland.
I think both of these are my committees, so I'll make a very short report on both of them. The Bull Horvat Community Center Arena, the dehumidifier has been installed. It's working good. It's had the humidity down to 50% in the summertime, which is extremely good there. So it's gonna help making ice this year. The ice has gone in. It's the pub is starting usage now. There was a bit of a concern with the changes to minor hockey that we may see less ice usage this year, but because kids can go wherever they want now, they're not tied to the community. But exactly the opposite has happened. Minor hockey's had a increase in the amount of ice time required, so that was a bit of a concern that we don't have to worry about right now. So, a lot of young kids coming on this one. Excuse me, the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, just a couple of quick things. Usually we're in the middle of budget process with the Conservation Authority. This year we're running a little bit behind. They've undertaken a study on the pay equity there with other conservation authorities. So that's made it a little difficult to get the budget done when we usually do. So we may be behind a bit. Hopefully that'll come up to next meeting. And I guess the other thing I maybe should inform everyone that the new education center at the Shenandoah Indian Village has now been completed. So it's a big improvement there. It's actually open for people can rent that facility now for small functions. So that's all I had to them.
Okay, if I could just follow up on the Bull Horvat Community Center, Deputy Mayor Loveland, you were unsuccessful in the grant money, but where does that leave the capital project?
We had, part of that process was the dehumidifiers. We decided to go ahead with that because we really needed that. And we had the money in reserves already set aside. So and it came in a lot cheaper than we had envisioned. So that was all plus, I guess. We're gonna sit down and kind of come up with a new plan as to where we're going. That's one of the funny things about the grant we got from Craft Hockeyville, that there is no requirement to spend that money within a certain period of time. So it's sitting in the bank, drawing a little bit of interest as we speak. And I think we're gonna have to go back and kind of revision where we're going, whether we may have to downsize what we're planning on doing, or we may wait for another grant. I'm not sure, but there's again, we didn't have a treasurer's report at last meeting because of staff changes there. So something that's going to be worked on. So when I hear, I'll bring a report back to council.
Thank you. I was concerned that it was a use it or lose it thing, but we have the money already. Yeah, good to know. Any further comments from the committee reports? Councillor Drulard.
Just to add to that, I know that there was a community locally that won 4 or 5 years. They still have not finished what they had started because it's been an ongoing process, and they really didn't get started until like year 3 or 4. So, I mean, $250,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when you get into an arena, it is not very much money. So especially our old barns that we've got around in these small communities. So essentially we've got the money and we've got some time. So I'm looking forward to see where you go.
Okay. Staff monthly reports. Any comments on those? And one that we all pay close attention to is the wastewater report, and it was a good report again. And I had a conversation with Deputy Mayor Loveland today, and we brought up the issue of infiltration and continuing with some exploration there. And I think I spoke to Tony about it already. So we will try to, with staff, try and find a way. I think there's 2 components. There's the education component. And if memory serves me correctly, and I got terrible memory, how far the smoke testing went. I don't think we got much past Leach Street. But anyway, we can look into that. So we're gonna try and start that process again. Because I do think it's important, and thank you for bringing that up, Deputy Mayor Loveland. With staffing issues, we've not accomplished everything that we hope to, but we will. Any further comments?
Through your worship, yes, we're going to include that on our priority list. So we're going to go back and get some information on a report that was done, identify which area that was completed. So we'll take that on as part of our administrative duties.
Okay, anything further on the staff monthly reports? Seeing none. Tara, we've done all reports and correspondence.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the items on the consent agenda be approved. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you. And we have a CAO report, but I show none.
Through you, your worship, not at this time, but there will be a report coming at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any unfinished business? Seeing none. Is there any new business?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment. There, I just wanted to comment and say that the roads department really has stepped up in recently, and not that they weren't before, but there was a significant issue on the Dude Ranch Hill, and we know we've on and off had some issues. It really wasn't caused by drain failure. I believe it was caused by a truck carrying a very large load of water had gotten stuck. They got off the road into the ditch, and then they let the water go. So it created a washboard and a big washout. And so anyway, I did field a few calls, and I just sent them along to Tony and to Murray. And as soon as he had them, they were right out. And I got a lot of feedback saying, you know, it looks fantastic. They did a great job. So just sometimes we need to give those shout outs where they are well deserved.
Thank you for that, and we'll make sure that our roads department hears that good news. They hear a lot of the other side of everything and not enough of that. So thank you for bringing that forward. Any other new business?
Comment. Mayor Hens.
Yes.
I think I brought it up at our last meeting as well, but the Economic Development Committee, in conjunction with the county in Southold and West Elgin, we're doing the event at the Knights of Columbus. So Richard Petty will be the speaker, and he is going to be speaking on cultivating success in small communities. That's going to be the focus of the discussion. He wrote a book on he's written several books, but in particular, the one he's explored small towns in Ontario and drawn parallels between them and why they're successful. So I'm looking forward to that. And he's going to be our primary speaker, and then we're going to have a 4-person panel where there's going to be Q&A sort of thing. So it's going to it should be very informative to the community. So October the 15th, it's a Wednesday evening from 5 till 8. So we're trying to encourage as many people as possible to participate.
Thank you for that. And just to be clear, October 15th?
October 15th from 5 o'clock until 8. We're going to start heavily promoting this week. You'll have to register on Eventbrite. It's free. You just gotta go to the link, because we have to cut it off at a certain number. I think we have 200 people targeted this time. So,
okay, just looking at my calendar, we don't have a conflict. That would be council. Okay. So I would recommend register early. Okay, thank you. Any announcements? I have an announcement, kind of a shout out as well, and I just want fire department and the OPP, the first week of school, so please pass on our thanks for what they do. And it's to, let people know that kids are crossing the streets now when they slow down. And the one in front of Agris Co-op, our fire truck was sitting there, and the OPP cruiser pulled over and spent considerable time with them as well. So I just thought that was a terrific thing to do in our community. So just our thanks for doing that. It's one of the extra things that the guys do for us, and it's much appreciated. Okay, Tara, we are ready to go into closed, I believe.
Moved by Pemberton, seconded by Drulard, that the council for the municipality of Dutton Dunwich now moves into a session of the meeting that shall be closed to the public at 6:05 PM in accordance with section 2392 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001, Chapter 25, for discussion of the following matters: litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, section 2392E of the Municipal Act for Pioneer Line. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, we are back. Item 15 is confirmed proceedings. Tara, please.
Moved by Dreyfus, seconded by Loveland, that bylaw 2025-45, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the municipal council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, and the dates of the next meetings are in front of you. And one more resolution.
Moved by Loveland, seconded by Pemberton, that the meeting of the council of the municipality of Dutton Dunwich closes at 6:17 PM. All in favor? And that's carried.
Okay, thank you all. Went good.